Hey guys, I have good and bad news, and it's the same news, but it just will either be good or bad depending on your thoughts on it, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. The new limited is, frankly, next week. I did not know this until very recently when they announced it, and as you can see here, Akira is coming next week. So as you can see here, she is coming on April 2nd, which is about a week from now, more or less. And yeah, you're gonna need to pull for her. So uh that's a big thing that is happening, and I'm going to just say right now, I don't think really any player should pull this weekend except for the divine summoning, which I think the Nasa is always worth pulling for. Going into the banner here, this would usually be a very good banner I would tell everyone to pull on, and if you still want to pull for it, don't let me dictate your decisions. It's just a game. You can do whatever the hell you want, right? But we have Vorn here. Vorn is very specifically geared for the poison composition of Numera, Nastia, and Vorn, and he is very good in areas like Abyss. So if you don't have him A1, he may be very valuable in Abyss 2, which I do think is coming out. But I think they're trying to very clearly design the Infernals to be a little bit better. So if you're planning on picking up the Infernals, I don't think you really need them. But still, Vorn is a great unit. Does shield break, does a lot of poisons, does a lot of setting up and debuffs to make the other poison units better, specifically Numera. He's a good unit. I like Vorn a lot. The other unit is Hex. Now Hex towards late and end game, you don't really use him so much, but he's still quite good, and he's really good earlier on in the game. Does a ton of single target damage, and he's Infernals, so the better Infernals get, the better Hex will get. Also a good unit. And usually when there's two very solid units on a banner, I usually recommend it because, well, if you hit a banner hero that isn't the banner hero you're looking for, you're not going to be crippled. You know, that's why the Guan Yu banner is so good, is because if you're going for, let's say, a Narissa like I did, if I miss Narissa and I still hit a banner unit, which isn't guaranteed, but if it does happen, then I'll hit Guan Yu, you know, and then I'll be happy I got a Guan Yu because Guan Yu's good. You know what I mean? So usually I would say that. But like I said, Akira is coming soon. So let's talk about Akira. I'm gonna be fully honest here. You know, I'm not like paid to promote these heroes. I'm just gonna flat out say Akira is not the best limited at all. She's not even close. You know, with Wukong, Kagiri, Diaochen, you know, which is my big three for limited, I do think that they are substantially better than her, mostly because not only are they very strong where they're best at, they're also usable in a lot of areas. Akira is used in a handful of areas, but she is very clearly designed for those things. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, she's basically a progression unit, and then once you get past that progression, she becomes a almost pretty much a Matrix one-trick pony. Now, I do think that her awakenings are important here. With Awakening, she becomes the third strongest Matrix unit. In my opinion, debatably the strongest, because she's the only physical AoE damage dealer that actually likes to lower stacks, except maybe Estrid is pretty good at it. Pretty much everyone else just love building stacks. But I'll get back to that in a moment. Not only that, Akira's decent in these Molten Stones. If you have Abyssal Beholders on the left that are immune to magic damage, you need physical AoE burst. And the thing is, there's very, very little platform physical AoE burst, right? She's probably going to be the best option there if you're struggling on one of those, even at lower awakenings. You can also clear left side of Grade 3. And I do think that her clone mechanic, where she spawns like a little copy, is okay, but that itself has some problems. Those are the main areas I could see her being used, and also she's supposed to be super meta in Codex, but I can't try that yet. I don't think she's like amazing, but you always, always, always pull on limiteds, okay? Especially if they are new. Limited heroes are ones that cannot be pulled on normal banners. They are ones that come around randomly. When the devs feel like running a limited, they do. For example, Wukong has been ran like 4 times, and he gets run for new players. Yao Chen has been run like 4 times, right? Kagiri has been ran a single time, right? What if you're progressing and you get to a point where Akira is needed, or maybe they release content where Akira is almost necessary? You're not going to have Akira, and you're going to be like, damn, I should have used the 200 summons, right? And you're really going to regret it. And the thing is, whenever a limited comes out, they give out enough summons to pull for that limited every single time. If you play the game actively, you will get enough summons to pull Akira no matter what, right? So you just have to pull for her, no matter how good she is or not good she is. I do think she is solid. I'm not going to say she's amazing, right? I do still think you got to save for next week, regardless, right? Now, I do want to have like a side tangent about Matrix. If y'all know anything about me, I spend a lot of time on Matrix. Currently, I am maybe 3,000, 2,000 off from 250k. Right now with no Lady Mina, even before Akira comes out. And my issue with physical Matrix is almost every single DPS for here is designed against how Matrix works. For example, Guan Yu just came out. Guan Yu's main selling point is Matrix. He's the best in Matrix, and he's not the best in other areas. That's just how he is, right? He's a Matrix specialist. Decent in some other areas, but that's his main use. But the thing is, because he executes so much, and he does so much damage outside of his ultimate, sure, he increases your score a lot, and his damage ramps up like crazy, and his damage numbers seem high, but Guan Yu, despite being a good Matrix DPS, is a bad Matrix unit, right? Because he builds your stacks, and then it's really hard to deal with. Akira is the opposite. Akira is what Mina was before they cut off her head, and she basically only does damage in her ultimate. Her basic attack damage is not garbage by any means, but it's all about this ult. It's all about placing that clone, which increases her damage a lot. You know, it's all about that sort of thing. So when you're doing Matrix, Akira is going to be incredibly valuable because she actually lowers stacks. With Akira coming out, I do think that if you have the Awakenings, you could hit like 115k type of thing. But for the average player, even an A0 will probably make it into your team regardless. I mean, that's just how it is, right? Because she's not, without Awakenings, she's not a good Matrix DPS, but she's a very good Matrix unit. You know what I mean? I think she's going to be very good here, even without Awakenings. If you have Awakenings, different story, but it's still limited and they're impossible to awaken. And frankly, I don't think you should stone her. I don't think she's good enough, to be completely honest. I would use it on like a Valara or a Cadgrim A3 if you like GVG, or Kigiri Wukong, Diao-chan A1. You know, there's better things to use your stones on. Either way, she is pretty decent, I guess. She's like a solid 7 out of 10 unit. But either way, she's unlimited and you have to pull for her. So I just wanted to go on that little yapping session. Maybe like 8 out of 10. I don't know. She's not like a mind-blowing, amazing unit. The main issue I honestly see with her is, for example, let's look at a hero that many people consider one of the best heroes in the game. Ardea. Ardea is one of the single best heroes of the game, right? She is, or at least that's what she's considered. She has very high damage output, but she is used in Matrix, she is used in Malware calls, and not too many other places. Obviously, you can slide her in if you really try. But those are the two areas she's really good in, because AoE physical damage is not that necessary for a lot of things. You know, if you're AoE, you want to have magic damage. If you're single target, you want to have physical damage. Ardea doesn't have that, and neither does Akira. Akira does physical damage, but she does it AoE, right? So she's automatically going to have less use cases because of that. But the second they release content where that's good, she'll be one of the best units, right? So it's a little bit hard to judge these things based off of such limited information. But regardless, I stand by that no matter what, unless you have like a Diao-chan A3 and the A4 is complete whatever, who cares? Like, it's not going to help you at all. In that case, you could save your summons. But in this case, you gotta pull for the limited. That's just how it is. You know, like, I really have to emphasize that. I've seen people skip Diao-chan. I've seen people skip Kigiri. And their accounts are now so much worse. Obviously, there's been choose your limited banners and there's been reruns, so their accounts are fine now. But there's always a chance, you know, something like Kigiri happens, where people thought Kigiri was garbage. when he released, and now he's one of the most important units in the game, and he's never had a rerun of his banner. You had to pick him on a choose your own limited, right? That can happen again, and I just have to say, no matter what, get one copy, because if she happens to be meta, if she happens to get buffed, if she happens to be something you need, you can at least stone her later, right? That's all I gotta say. That's my PSA there. Basic Divine, I think is good. If you're missing a handful of heroes, I would definitely pull on this one. If you're newer in the game, you can if you want. It's gonna give you an unknown hero. It's up to you. Regardless, that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys for watching. See y'all in the next one, and best of luck.